I'm Mo. When we talk about zero waste is something that can't actually be accomplished. No one can ever be zero waste. There's waste in the world, there's waste that's created. If you lived in a log cabin that you made yourself and you grew all your own food and you never traveled and you never used a car and you had some sort of completely self-sufficient lifestyle, that's probably the closest you could get to zero waste, and you will probably still create or generate some kind of waste. It's extremely difficult to talk about zero waste because there are so many preconceived notions about it. There is so much stigma on it. There is so much consumerism placed on it. But when we talk about zero waste on this channel, we're talking about our mindful daily practices. So zero waste, the idea that we can create this self-sustainable lifestyle, is the goal. But mindful daily practice is how we get better at reducing our waste over time. One of the videos that people asked for April was a zero waste recipe. I do zero waste recipes on my blog and I really enjoy making them. I try to do as many vegan zero waste recipes as possible. Consuming animal products and consuming dairy and contributing to factory farming is a huge factor in the waste that's created by the population. Now, zero waste recipe, just like a zero waste lifestyle, you're going to generate some waste. This is a zero waste red pasta sauce recipe. Now, this is a vegan recipe, and this is a huge improvement over buying jarred pasta sauce in the store. It's an improvement in your waste, but it is also an improvement in taste. So I used to be a total fan of jarred pasta sauce. I used to think that it was totally fine to get jarred pasta sauce. And it is, as long as you're getting a pasta sauce in a jar, not a plastic container, you are still doing fine. You can only do what you can do, and you can only make the changes that you can make. And although you have to push yourself a little bit, if making a pasta sauce at home is not the area that you can push yourself in, that's fine. This pasta sauce, it's really easy to make and keep for more than a week in your fridge, and have not only for putting on pasta, but for making simple like parmesans or baked dishes. I put this pasta sauce in rice when I want to flavor rice. I put this red sauce in other sauces like curries. I use canned tomatoes, which obviously if you have fresh tomatoes, that's even better. When we grow our tomatoes in the summer, we'll use fresh tomatoes to make this same sauce. And if you're interested in that, I can do one in the summer when tomatoes are grown. But since tomatoes are off season right now where I live, I would rather have a fresh canned tomato so that the tomato is really good quality than a store-bought hothouse tomato where they really don't have a lot of flavor. I put sugar in my tomato sauce. A lot of people like this, a lot of people hate it, but there's a couple of different options you can do, and I like just a little bit of sugar in there. Do you have a go-to red sauce recipe? Let us know in the comments below. So I did an overhead shot of me cooking this pasta sauce. It's super simple, so here we go. Here we have the ingredients that we're going to be using for today's zero waste vegan red sauce recipe. I have 2 cans of tomato, one that was left over from something else, and then the can just to show you. I also have 2 olive oils, one that I'm filling another jar from. So I buy a large olive oil and then fill a smaller jar that's easier to use. I have white sugar, which I'm only going to use a pinch of, and I've decanted this from a paper bag into the glass container. It's important to get your sugar in paper and your salt in a paper container as well. Lemon I might use later. I do sometimes like my sauce with a little bit of lemon or lemon zest in there, but garlic and
onion I will most definitely be using. This is my bamboo cutting board. I got it many years ago. As you can tell, you do not need any sort of special equipment to be zero waste. You need to use the items that you already have. One day this cutting board will be gone and I will replace it with a more sustainable option, but for now it's working okay. I'm also looking into refinishing this cutting board. It's important to repair any objects that you have before replacing them, and I think I will be able to sand this down and refinish it before I have to find another one. Here I'm cutting up a half of a small onion. Because I'm using the tomato puree that I already had that was left over from something else, I'm only making a very small batch of sauce today. The ingredients in this recipe will vary and they are not specific, but I will leave a recipe down below. The recipe does change. You can add things to this, you can take away, and that's one of the reasons that this recipe is really versatile and really easy. The onion skins will go in the compost, or better yet, with the vegetable scraps that I can use for stock later. The onions themselves I'm going to put in a small metal pan. I'm trying to use all not non-stick pans when possible because the non-stick process is very toxic and creates a lot of waste for the environment. It also wears off eventually and gets into your food and is not really good for you. Here I have some garlic. This recipe can be made as garlicky as you want or as less garlicky as you want. I personally love a lot of garlic. Peeling the garlic is always tricky, but there's a couple of methods. You can just peel the peel off, obviously, and I like to cut it so that the little back end of the garlic is away from the knife so that you can keep the garlic together as you're chopping it, and I cut it just the same way that I cut the onions. I don't like my garlic to be too finely chopped, so I just do a rough dice for the garlic and for the onion. I like my onions to be a little bit on the finer side, but I don't mind my garlic being quite large. That doesn't bother me. If you like a really fine garlic, you might want to use a garlic press, or you could blitz it in a food processor, but personally I like to get a little garlic hit when I'm eating my sauce. I think the garlic and onion in this sauce really makes it versatile for using for other dishes as well. It's a pre-seasoned sauce that you can use in a lot of ways, which I find really, really helpful. So garlic and onion in the pot, super simple. And then we also have our olive oil. I use as good a quality of olive oil as I possibly can. I always use extra virgin olive oil for everything, which some chefs would disagree with. I try to always buy my olive oil in bulk, as big as a container as I can possibly find, and then put it in smaller, easy to use jars that are pourable. If you have a shop near you that refills jars with olive oil, I would use that. It's even more sustainable and better for zero waste. I don't measure the olive oil or measure any of the ingredients in this recipe. I will put rough measurements in the recipe down below, but it's really to taste, so it really depends on what you like. I can also put the garlic skins in my stock pot, or I can put them in the compost. I put the onions and garlic over a medium flame and I just let them cook slowly until the onions and garlic are fragrant and translucent. You could put the garlic, onions, and olive oil together as early as you like. This will flavor the olive oil a little bit, so you could do this part of the recipe early and then come back to it later to finish it off. So it's a easy time-saving recipe as well. I put in the puree that I had. This is like a rough puree. Usually I use a really, really smooth puree. We like our tomato sauce really smooth, but if you prefer whole tomatoes, that's fine too. You can just crush them up. If you like a rough dice and you like your sauce nice and chunky, you can use that. Then I add a little bit of salt and just a teeny tiny bit of white sugar in there. You can use brown sugar or sugar in the raw or coconut sugar. All those sugars taste really good in tomato sauce. They bring out the the natural flavors and balance the acidity of the tomatoes. As I said earlier, always if you want to use fresh tomatoes, that's great too. Just remember that using fresh tomatoes will include the skins, and you might have a texture of the skins. I let a full batch of tomato sauce cook for about 20 to 30 minutes. This one cooked for a lot less because it was a half batch. Then I'll let the tomato sauce cool and I will put it in a jar for storage. If we're going to be using it immediately, I will go ahead and serve immediately. On this occasion, we had some vegan meatballs and some pasta with our red sauce. This super easy vegan red sauce is zero waste because we used loose veggies, we use sugar in paper, we use salt in cardboard, we use tomatoes in cans, all of which can be recycled or composted.
That was my super simple vegan pasta sauce. I make that once every week or once every other week, depending on what my meal plan is. And like I said, we use it over pasta. We make baked pasta with it. We'll put it over vegetables. I love to do like a zucchini and mozzarella or Parmesan. Vegan Parmesan works great for that. I love to do that pasta sauce added to my rice water, and it infuses the rice with all that garlic and onion flavor, tomato flavor. I use it to stretch other sauces. If I have only a little bit left over, I'll put it in fried rice or so many other dishes. It's really versatile. It's really simple. You can make a big batch if you have a big family. You can make a tiny batch if you're one person, and it lasts a while in the fridge. Do you have a super simple zero waste recipe you'd like to share? Let us know in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much. Bye.